By the end of this video, you're going to understand a 3-step process to grow your net worth without increasing your income. So growing your net worth is just another way of saying building wealth. Now, spoiler alert, I'm gonna spoil it. There's nothing groundbreaking in this video. I'm gonna talk to you about freeing up cash flow, paying down debt, saving, and investing. But what I hope to do is to present it in a way that helps motivate you to grow your net worth. Now, let's be real. Bringing in more money obviously makes it easier to build wealth, and it has the ability to speed things up for you, to accelerate the process. What I don't want to happen is to have you put off building wealth and end up staying stagnant with your finances just because you don't have a raise or a promotion coming in the near future. At the end of the day, building wealth, aka growing your net worth, is less about making more money and more about continuously making smart money related decisions over time. Before I cover this 3-step process, what even is your net worth? I keep throwing around this word net worth. Building wealth, by definition, is the act of acquiring more assets and decreasing your liabilities. Assets are what you own, liabilities are what you owe. So if the difference between the two numbers grows, so does your net worth, because you're taking your assets minus your liabilities, and that difference between the two is your net worth. That's how much value you own. So here's an illustration. Imagine this bar is your net worth. You have money in your bank accounts, your investment accounts. Maybe you own some assets that hold value, like a car or a house. And then look at this other bar, and this is your credit card debt. The difference between the two, like we said earlier, is your net worth. Now, put this chart aside for now. Let's look at your monthly cash flow. This is the money that comes in and goes out. So every month you make a certain amount of money, whether that's from one job or you have multiple sources of income. Every month you also spend money. You spend on housing, utilities, food, shopping, and whatever else it is that you have in your lifestyle. So technically, your cash flow is a constant changing thing as money comes in and money goes out. But the reason I say to look at it monthly, so during a 1-month time frame, is it makes it a little easier to understand what's happening conceptually. So if you look at a 1-month time span, if you can keep your money out number less than the money in, that means you are living within your means. So theoretically, you should have some extra money. Now, this extra money can be used to increase your net worth in 2 ways. So you're basically taking money from the cash flow chart and moving it to the net worth chart. When you have extra money, you can increase your net worth by increasing your assets. So think of that like a pile of money you have stashed away or used to purchase things of value. And I'm talking about value in a financial sense, so something that you can sell for money, not just something of value to you. Because once you buy that bag of makeup, you're not gonna sell it, that's yours. And the other thing you can do with that extra cash flow is to decrease your liabilities, which means paying down the debts that you owe. Technically, you're paying down the principal balance of the debt that you owe. And like we said earlier, the more assets you acquire and the more liabilities you pay off, the bigger this net is, the bigger this difference is between those two numbers, which means your net worth is growing. So that is a visual representation of what happens when you are building wealth. So for this video in particular, if you can't change your income right now or in the near future, then the primary way to increase your net worth is by freeing up cash flow, so decrease your expenses and make sure you have some extra money in your monthly cash flow, and then use that cash flow towards your wealth building activities, which comes down to buying assets and decreasing liabilities. Let's dig into what that looks like. But first, for those new here, hello and welcome. My name is Lissa and I am an accredited financial counselor and a personal finance expert who helps women of color build wealth. Anyone is welcome here, but I just want to see more women of color winning in finances and in life. So let's break this down into 3 steps. how can you grow your net worth, aka build wealth, without increasing your income? So the very first step is to do an assessment of your finances. So what you need to understand is those two charts we were looking at, but with your numbers, your actual net worth and your actual cash flow. So when you calculate your net worth, this is going to give you a baseline so that you can track it over time. In order to know if your net worth is growing, you have to know what it is today, and then in the future you can check it again to make sure that that number has grown. Now, a quick thing on that. Some of you might be starting with a negative net worth. Now, I know that sucks. It sucks that that is a normalized thing in society, but if that's the case, just know that you can still make progress, right? If you go from a really big negative number to a smaller negative number, then you have made progress, and in no time, you're gonna finally be in the positive to have a positive net worth. In order to calculate your net worth, you're going to take your assets, the value of everything you own, and subtract your liabilities, the balance of everything that you owe. Now, lucky for you, I have a whole video on how to calculate your net worth and your cash flow by doing a financial checkup. So check out that video up here if you are ready to get down and dirty, do the numbers, and assess your financial picture. Plus, on top of that, so that you don't have to do it with a pen and paper, I will drop some free spreadsheet templates for calculating both in the description below. So calculating your cash flow is actually more important for this exercise because knowing your cash flow is going to tell you whether or not you're in a position to actually take some extra money and use it towards growing your net worth. Because if you're living paycheck to paycheck, or if you're not living within your means, then you have to first work on getting to a place where you decrease some expenses and spend less than you make. So like I said, you can check out that video that I linked, and I'll put it in the description as well, to do a financial checkup, and that includes calculating your monthly cash flow. What I recommend is looking at a time frame of 1 month of actual data, actual money that came in, let's say in the month of February, and actual money you spent in the month of February, and see what that comes out to. Once you have a better idea of your finances, so you know your net worth, your current net worth, and you have an idea of your monthly cash flow, even though it varies from month to month, we just want a good idea, then you are ready to move on to step number 2. After assessing your finances, you want to free up cash flow. And if you already have some extra money at the end of each month, then you want to free up even more if possible. So that diagram that I showed you earlier for cash flow, we said that money in has to be more than money out. Well, what we want to do in this step is to see how we can increase that gap as much as possible. Now, for people living paycheck to paycheck, this is what it looks like. You bring in as much money as you spend. So there's nothing extra that you can use towards building wealth. And because we're talking about how to build wealth without increasing your income, this becomes the tough part, because the only way to have some extra money that you can put towards growing your net worth is by decreasing expenses. My hot take, if you can do both, if you can increase your income and decrease expenses, this is just gonna help accelerate your wealth building even more. So in order to decrease expenses, you have to consider making some changes, both big and small changes, to your lifestyle. What can you cut out from your budget, even if it's temporarily? Maybe you give up manicures for just a couple of months to free up some cash flow. Maybe you get better about going out to eat a lot less. Whatever it is, you want to start with your discretionary spend, so things like shopping for clothes, eating out, socializing. I wouldn't say to cut it out completely unless your budget is super tight. Make room for fun, because you don't want to just relapse later because you were too tight on your budget. I just want you to find ways to find that gap where you have some extra cash flow. Are there any utilities that you can save on? Any way to save on transportation? Can you make a big life change, like maybe get a roommate for a year? Now, once you're able to decrease some of your expenses and free up some cash flow, even if it's a small amount, like $25. This is gonna give you some money to play with, and it is a start. I don't want you to avoid building wealth just because you don't think you have enough money. You can start with a small amount. So after you have that amount and you know how much extra cash you have, step number 3 is to use that extra cash towards what we talked about earlier, wealth building activities. That means anything that increases your assets or decreases your liabilities. So personally, I think people are great at saving or learning how to save. The problem is that we can easily save money and then end up using it on things that are considered liabilities. They're things that are not going to add to this asset column. So what I want you to do is to start thinking about using your extra money towards building wealth. So when you have extra cash, here are the 3 primary things you can do to increase that gap between your assets and your liabilities. Number 1, save. Save money in a savings account. Now, this is not going to grow your net worth exponentially or anything, but it is going to grow it because it's going to increase the amount of assets that you own as long as you don't spend the money. Now, the other upside to saving this money is that you can set aside both an emergency fund as well as money for short-term savings goals. This is money that you will eventually use later, but in the meantime, it grows your net worth. Number 2, to increase your net worth, you want to decrease your liabilities. This means pay down debt. Now, the more debt you have, the more it can seem impossible to climb out of it. You make your monthly minimum payments and then it barely scratches the surface. But rather than thinking of having only 2 statuses of either being in debt or being debt-free, I want you to approach your debt payoff as part of your larger wealth goals. So this means if you have extra cash flow and you can add payments to your debts, specifically paying down the principal balance, this is going to increase your net worth because it's going to decrease your liabilities and that gap gets bigger. But also, at some point in time, once that debt is paid off, you're going to have more cash flow freed up because you're not going to have to make your debt payments anymore. Which leads me to, when you have even more extra cash every month, money that you're not using to spend on your lifestyle, you want to do number 3, which is invest. So here's what investing typically looks like. You are going to use your extra cash to purchase assets. Now, the value of those assets gets added to your net worth because they're worth something. Now, there are a lot of assets you can choose from: stocks, real estate, or anything else that has value. And for those of you new to investing or have ever struggled to understand how investing works, then you can check my video up here. So these assets that you buy, they increase your asset column, but it doesn't just stay right there because there are other possibilities of that growing in value. 1, through appreciation, meaning the value goes up, and sometimes some assets can provide other sources of income: interest, dividends, and for real estate, you can have rental payments. When you make money from those assets and you reinvest it, that column just keeps getting bigger and then it grows exponentially over time because now this is the concept of your money making more money. So I know that this is all easier said than done, but like I said at the beginning of the video, I just don't want you to put this off. We're talking about personal finance basics here. If you live within your means, you pay off your debt, you save and you invest, and you start it as soon as possible with a small amount, you are gonna see some progress over time. The goal is to build these habits right now and continue them to where you don't even think twice about it anymore. It's part of your lifestyle. I hope that was helpful. If you have questions, as always, let me know in the comments. I am happy to make videos on the topics that you want to see. Until next time, peace out.